Hello and welcome everybody. This is Dave from RectifyGaming.com here with another Rectify review, and this time we are taking a look at the newest expansion for Destiny 2, Destiny 2 Forsaken. Destiny 2. The Destiny franchise has had a long history in a very short amount of time. The trend seems to go release base game with tons of hype and excitement. The base game releases to critical acclaim and admiration. In about a week, the community starts to rebel against Destiny, claiming a lack of content, questionable game mechanics, and a lack of things to do, even as players are logging in and playing for hundreds of hours on end. You usually have one bad expansion, then a mediocre expansion, that usually is right before a big September release that really promises to shake things up. You have new trailers and Vidocs that promise to change the formula, add new content, keep players engaged, tell a full story, and make sweeping, fundamental improvements to a game people love to hate but also love to play. That expansion was called The Taken King, and when it arrived, it changed the conversation about Destiny forever. Another major expansion another year after that was called The Rise of Iron, and it added more fuel to the fire, and then the excitement and hype started to really build for Destiny 2, just as it had for Destiny 3 years earlier. And you guys already know how the story goes. Destiny 2 released in September of 2017, and for a handful of weeks was the greatest game of all time. Rave reviews abound, and the player base was overjoyed with the numerous improvements and the big bad Gaul-based storyline. But after a handful of weeks went by, the Destiny fan base revolted a second time. Longtime Destiny fans were put off by the oversimplification of the RPG mechanics, the stripped down nature of PvP, and the overall feeling that Destiny 2 was a mile wide but about an inch deep in all of its RPG mechanics. Truth be told, I was one of those players. In the span of a month, I had put in over 70 hours with it. I was in love at first, impressed by its story and gunplay. Everything that would later become something I resented about it was something I couldn't get enough of for that first month. And then eventually I hit a wall, like most of the community, and realized most of the changes absolutely gutted all of the depth and layers Taken King and Rise of Iron had added. Destiny 2's first couple of expansions, The Curse of Osiris and Warmind, added new locations, story, guns, armor, and several new mechanics alongside larger quality of life patches that were released to try to change the dialogue about Destiny 2. Curse of Osiris did nothing to help the game, however, and was viewed as pretty big dud, with a storyline that could complete it in a couple of hours, no new raid added outside of a new lair, and there wasn't much content there. That was probably the down point of Destiny 2's lifecycle. Earlier this year, though, Destiny 2's Warmind expansion had a bigger impact, and that was pretty much the opening salvo of Destiny 2's comeback story. Forsaken was announced shortly after and prepped up as the next Taken King, the next major piece of content that would save Destiny 2. And while I'm not sure that Destiny 2 needed saving, it did need something. A new start, a change in direction to give the community a shot in the arm, and it overall just needed a second life. Destiny 2 Forsaken does exactly that. Starting off with the proverbial bang, the Forsaken campaign begins with the death of fellow Vanguard Cade 6 at the hands of Uldren Sov and his 8 Barons. What follows is a very clear and direct revenge story as your Guardian abandons the Vanguard and joins Petra, back from the Taken King, on a quest for vengeance. Right away, the streamlined and smaller scale of the story resonates in a much bigger way. The stripped-down narrative allows for a more meaningful story to be told, with a clear set of villains and an obvious motivational pull to continue your quest. This is a stark contrast to the abstract and lackluster effort for the original campaign and the story that it tried to tell. But everyone knows it doesn't just start and end with the story campaigns. So in addition to that, there is a much larger suite of features and additions that try to bring back a lot of the depth Destiny 2 or Destiny used to have. The biggest and most obvious are two brand new locations. The Tangled Shore and the Dreaming City are massive new patrol zones. They are both full of new secrets to discover and enemies to shoot. These two zones are huge and they bring a very different dimension to the game. The Tangled Shore is home to the Scorn, a group of fallen that follow Uldren. The Scorn are the first all-new enemy faction since the Taken. The Scorn are full-on Mad Max meets Destiny, with clamped metal armor, loose straps, big shrapnel weapons that they attack you with. They just overall seem like a roving band of fallen bandits. The Dreaming City is a stark contrast to the Mad Max styles of the Tangled Shore, and it lies in the home world of the Awoken, one of the 3 playable races in Destiny. The Dreaming City is the most stunning Destiny location yet. It features a vastly different look to the rest of the game, with huge sightlines and secrets galore. It feels like part Asgard, part Lord of the Rings, and is also home to the brand new raid. Outside of the locations, the other major change Forsaken adds is the gear system itself. When Destiny 2 debuted, it featured an armor and a weapon system that had fixed rolls on everything. If you played and picked up a legendary scout rifle, say Nameless Midnight for example, the 200th Nameless Midnight was the exact same as the first one you picked up. This system severely limited the longevity of the endgame. If you put any kind of decent time into Destiny 2, you would have earned so many duplicate legendary and exotic weapons or armor throughout Destiny 2 that after a while you just become numb to it. You feel nothing. There's no hype, no mystery, no excitement. If you are trying to play a game poised as a huge, persistent action RPG, getting loot and having it be meaningful is a big part of it. Now with Forsaken, Bungie has brought the grind back to Destiny, but in a good way. Now weapons and armor roll with random traits, mods, and perks. This one addition adds a ton of replayability to the game, as the hunt for your perfect build is something you can actually realistically chase down. Now when I get the 200th Nameless Midnight, I will actually check it right away to see if I get that perfect combination of stats. Another major addition to the game are Warlocks, Titans, and Hunters. All have a brand new subclass and super for each elemental build. This adds a whole new layer to the meta, as now players can experiment with their new abilities and try to form a build and a fire team based on what their new favorite class build is. And these two big changes are joined by a couple of pages worth of changes and adjustments to all of the various systems Destiny 2 has. The economy, the time to kill, even weapon loadouts and ammo economy have been implemented that all harken back to the style of the original game. But it's not just all new behind the system changes and changes to your loadouts. There is a brand new mode that Bungie has debuted with Forsaken outside of the campaign, and it is called Gambit. Gambit is a hybrid. It's like the Blade of Destiny 2. It's a bridge connecting PvE and PvP in one big, action-filled match. Every round of Gambit pits 2 teams of 4 against each other as the Drifter, a new character who's very mysterious, tells both teams who they will face. When the round starts, both teams will run out into their own map and hunt down waves of AI enemies and collect a new resource called motes. When a team collects and banks a total of 75 motes, they summon their primeval, their boss. The first team to summon and kill their primeval wins the round. Seems simple, but in reality it's not so much. Every time you bank a certain amount of motes, you send a blocker to the enemy team. The enemy team then has to kill the blocker to regain the ability to bank their own motes, and they will be doing the same to you all the time. In addition to these rules, portals will open at certain intervals that will allow one player from your team to invade the enemy side, and try to hunt them down and in general become a nuisance to what they're trying to accomplish. The careful balance of focusing on the AI enemies, clearing out blockers, banking moats, and warding off invaders is a frantic, fast-paced fusion of the best parts of Destiny distilled into one chaotic brew. Now it all sounds good, but there are some harsh reminders that are still present to remind us that this is just an expansion. A huge expansion, but it's not a full-fledged new sequel built from the ground up. Some issues I have with Destiny 2 are still present and as frustrating as ever. Extremely poor playlists that can place you in the same PvP map or strike multiple times, for example. Horde modes like the brand new Blind Well and the Escalation Protocol still have no attempt at a matchmaking system. The 3-player fireteam limit is still around and just as arbitrary as ever. As much as stuff Forsaken changes, a lot has stayed the same, and most of the deep core issues from Destiny 2, there are things that are going to need a complete rework from the ground up. Destiny 2 Forsaken isn't that, but I also didn't expect it to be. Those are the types of issues that the inevitable Destiny 3 will have to address from the outset. Destiny 2 Forsaken is a massive expansion, with a new story, powers, gear, and Gambit all in the mix to give Destiny 2 the content-filled shot it needs. It isn't perfect by a long shot, with some fixes providing a band-aid on the deeper core problems at Destiny 2's center. However, as a starting point for the next year of content, it does put Destiny 2 in a much better place. Bungie's mission statement with Forsaken was to bring the hobby back. If the playtime I poured in so far is any indication, mission accomplished. 7 out of 10. Check out the full review over at RectifiedGaming.com and stay tuned for more sessions and playthroughs of Destiny Forsaken content right here on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.
We have a deal.